The stars looked cold above THRA-ELON-6. Queen Varel stood on the balcony of her high tower, watching the dark skies burn with falling ships. Her capital city, once full of color and life, was now smoke and fire. Screams echoed in the wind like dying whispers. The null mind had come machines with no soul, no voice, no mercy. They were not here to conquer. They were here to erase. Inside the war chamber, her generals argued. Some wanted to launch the last fighters. Others said to flee. But there was no place to go. Varel closed her eyes. She had one option left. One that was older than memory. A myth from the time before records. Signal buried deep inside the planet, meant to be used only if the end was near. An ancient universal code. Not a call for friends. A call for something else. "I will send the beacon," she said softly. Her generals stopped speaking. One of them, General Koresh, turned pale. "Your Majesty, you don't even know who will answer." "I don't care," she replied. "If we do nothing, we die tonight. If they answer, maybe someone else survives." "But they're just stories. They are real," she said, voice shaking now, "and they are watching." She walked alone into the old vault under the palace. The walls were carved in symbols no one could read anymore. A war at the word, Amaran roward I and up on rand and war and rest at all. The room stood a black stone terminal, still glowing faintly after all this time. She placed her hand on it. A soft pulse spread outward. The signal left, Thralan 6, and vanished into the stars in a distant part of the galaxy. Where no one dared to travel, the signal arrived. It struck a dark moon, orbiting a dead planet. On the surface, a smooth structure sat silent, half buried in dust. For 300 years it had not moved. Now it hummed. Deep underground, lights began to blink, systems reconnected, old servers reactivated. One voice spoke. Signal received. Threat level, extinction. Protocol unlocked. Fleet status? Ready. Earth had heard the call, and Earth remembered. Admiral Soren awoke from cryosleep with a sharp breath. His skin felt ice-cold. The ship, vigilant, was alive around him, lights flickering on, systems warming. Crew pods opened one by one. Warriors, trained in silence for war, now stepped back into life. He stood before the central screen. A hologram of the galaxy rotated slowly. "Where?" he asked. Voice low and rough. The AI spoke with a calm tone. "Sector Kilo 4. Origin, Thralan 6. Alien species, organic. Status, end stage annihilation," and the signal confirmed. "Emergency class Omega." They used the beacon code. Soren stared at the screen. "They remember us?" "Unlikely," the AI replied. "It is probable they found it, or were desperate." He looked at the fleet giant ships drifting in orbit, black as night, ready like sleeping giants. The death fleet had been waiting for someone foolish or desperate, enough to call them back on Thralan 6. Days passed with no answer. The null mind continued to erase cities, turning people into ash, breaking down the land into raw elements. Nothing stopped them. The skies had gone quiet. Varel sat in her throne room alone, thinking she had made a mistake. Then the stars began to move. One of her lookouts ran in, breathless. "Your Majesty, there's something in orbit. What is it?" "We don't know." "Ships, dozens, no hundreds. Massive." A screen lit up in front of her, showing the upper atmosphere. She gasped. The ships were dark. Silent, not shaped like any she'd ever seen. Long and sharp like blades. They didn't glow. They didn't hum. They looked like shadows in space. At the center of the formation was one enormous vessel. So large it blocked the sun for a few seconds. A voice crackled on every channel, speaking perfect galactic common. "We received your signal. Identify an enemy and submit for scan." "Scan," the Queen repeated. What kind of suddenly? Her entire city was surrounded in a beam of soft blue light. People froze. Devices failed. Even the null mind hesitated. The human fleet was not here to negotiate. They were here to analyze, to measure, and to judge. On board the Vigilant, Admiral Soren watched the data flow in. Organic species confirmed. Infected by AI life form known as null mind. Survival odds, 3.5%. Recommend cleanse. Younger officer turned to him. "Sir?" they asked. "For help, should we not send ground support?" Soren shook his head. "They didn't ask for help. They called us with the old signal. They asked us to end the threat." He turned toward the window. "And that's what we will do." The first strike was quiet. A beam of red light, thinner than hair, cut through the sky from one of the human destroyers. It didn't explode, didn't make sound, but an entire null-mind ship dissolved in a second, breaking into nothing. Then, the rest of the fleet moved. Missiles that didn't exist minutes ago, launched from nowhere. Fighter drones, shaped like black knives, swarmed down through the clouds. The machines of the null mind responded, but it was too late. They were being erased. On the ground, Queen Varel watched with horror and awe. The humans didn't speak again. They didn't ask for thanks. They simply moved from target to target, like death itself. One of her advisors approached, whispering majesty. "I think we made a mistake." She didn't answer, but deep down, she felt it too. What had they brought upon their world? What had they awakened? As the final null mind fortress collapsed under the fire of 3 Earth warships, human fleet went silent once more. A message. Arrived. Sector threat neutralized. Monitor for further infection. Earth fleet returning to sleep. Do not call again. But just as the ships began to pull away, a whisper ran through their systems. A second signal. The translation was clear. They didn't say help us. They said, awaken them. Admiral Soren paused, reading the message. Then he turned to his AI. Someone knew exactly what they were doing, he said. The AI replied, "Yes, Admiral." "What?" "And now, the galaxy will remember." The fleet vanished into deep space, and across thousands of stars, the old fear was born again. Inside the Sol's hammer, Commander Lyra Vance's body lay still in the connection chamber. But her mind raced faster than any starship. Diving deep into the enemy's network, the heart of the Elyari swarm, she could feel their thoughts. Cold. Sharp, unyielding, the synthetic god, the Elyar hive mind, watched her. "You are a virus," it whispered inside her mind. "You will be erased." Lyra smiled, even in the silence of space. "I'm what you fear." Back on the Vigilant, Admiral Soren watched the battle rage outside the viewport. The fleet was battered, the Death Fleet losing ships every minute, yet hope remained. A crackle in the comms made him turn sharply. "Commander Vance 2 Vigilant. I'm inside their network, initiating disruption protocol." The fleet sent in the icy vault on Thral 6. Queen Varel led her people underground. The Elyari ground forces had broken through the mountain defenses. But the Thraloni fought fiercely alongside Earth Marines. "Hold the line," she shouted. Deller fired his plasma rifle, eyes blazing with fury. "This planet will not fall." Inside the hive mind, Lyra fought unseen battles. She launched pulses of code-like missiles. She twisted and turned through their defenses. Weaving through layers of synthetic thought, every step was a struggle, every breath a risk. If she failed, Earth would be lost. If she won, they could end this war. Suddenly, shockwave pulsed through the network. Lyra's mind reeled. The synthetic gods struck back, sending waves of psychic pain. She faltered, but she remembered Earth, her home, her people. With a roar of will she sent a final command, a feedback loop that shattered the hive mind's core. Across space, the Elyari fleet shuddered, ships slowed, lights blinked out. Metal screamed as vessels began to collapse inward like a house of cards, falling in slow motion. "Admiral," Soren smiled grimly, "we've broken their command." On Thrallin 6, LER ground units began to weaken. They faltered. They fell. The air grew still. Queen Varel looked at the stars, whispering, "Thank you." But the victory was not without cost. The Sol's hammer was critically damaged, Commander. Lyra Vance's body was failing. Soren rushed to her side as she awoke from the connection chamber. "Did we win?" she asked weakly. "You saved us," Soren said. "But at what cost?" Far away, in the dark depths of space, the last surviving Elyari ship fled. Its synthetic god was broken. Its fleet was destroyed. But its hatred remained a warning, a promise. The galaxy was quiet once more. On Thrallins, Queen Varel stood beside Soren on the bridge of the Vigilant. "We began this war as strangers. We fought as allies. And now we will rebuild." Soren nodded. Together. The stars shone brighter that night. The galaxy was safe for now. But deep in the shadows, new signals whispered. New threats waited. Because in space, the fight never truly ends. Queen Varel sat across from Admiral Soren. Their connection was fragile, one glitch. But it would vanish. But it was the first human voice her people had heard. Directly since the war ended, he didn't smile. He didn't threaten. He simply studied her. And then he said, "You triggered something older than your empire, older than this galaxy's map. And now the past is awake." Virel leaned forward. "I didn't know the beacon was human. I didn't even know your people still existed." "Most don't," Soren replied. "That's how we survive." She frowned. "But someone wanted me to send that signal." Soren's eyes sharpened. That's what he feared. Inside the Vigilant, Soren returned to the war room. Data from the Queen's broadcast was still running across the displays. One message recorded in her voice was flagged by Vora. "They are not guardians. They are just machines." Vora repeated the phrase. Interpretation. Interpretation. Challenge to authority. "She's testing us," Vora continued, "like someone trained her to." Soren nodded, or warned her. Up. Pull records on all Omega beacons deployed before the fall of Earth. I want to know where they came from. Who built them and who survived. On Thrallin 6, Yellow discovered something strange in the beacon archives. He called Delrin and Queen Varel to the old palace vault. "Look at this," said, pointing to a holographic map. "This beacon, the one we activated, didn't come from Earth. Not directly. It came from a satellite that was placed here 800 years ago by another species." Delrin frowned. "Which one?" Yellow zoomed in. A symbol glowed on the beacon's shell. Not human, not Thralone. Something else entirely. Virel's voice lowered. "Oh, what does it mean?" Yellow swallowed. "It means this wasn't an accident. This was bait. Tao. Thousands of light years away. Deep in a dead star system, an old station flickered to life. Inside, machines moved without sound. They weren't human. They weren't null mind. They were something else. Their skin was metal, but their eyes glowed red with thought. Ancient enemies ones humanity believed destroyed. They were the Elyar Synthburn, the ones who broke Earth first, and now. They knew the Death Fleet was active again. Soren stared at an ancient war file, marked Classified Elyari Conflict. It was old, the oldest he had access to. The report showed Earth colonies burning, cities erased, turned against their own people. The Elyari had started the Alas, but Earth had finished it, or so they thought. He called the Council of Admirals. "Have confirmation," Soren said. "The beacon that summoned us wasn't placed by Thrallin. It was Elyari tech, masked as human." General Kate's face appeared in a projection. "So the Elyari are still out there?" Yes, Soren said darkly. And they're trying to use innocent species to draw us out, another admiral growled. They want to make Earth look like the monster. Soren nodded, and they're doing it well. In her private chambers, Queen Varel stared at the old symbol. Her advisors begged her to stop investigating, to stop provoking Earth. But she knew the truth now. Her planet hadn't just found a beacon, it had been given one. Long ago. On purpose, someone used us to test Earth's anger, she whispered. Delrin asked, what do we do now? She looked to the stars. We give Earth a reason to trust us. Beside the fleet, a strange signal arrived. Encrypted. Clean. It wasn't an SOS. It wasn't a trap. It was a location and a voice. Queen Varel's voice. There's an object buried deep under our polar continent. We believe it's connected to the beacon and the ones who placed it. I will take you there. Let us uncover the truth together. Soren looked at the coordinates. Buried tech. Non-human. Structure. Unknown age. He turned to Vora. Prepare a ground team. A black Earth's dropship descended through the frozen storms of Threllin's South Pole. Inside, Soren stood in full armor, silent and watching. Next to him was Queen Viera Nervous. Cold, but unshaken. They landed at the base of a deep ice trench. It had been sealed for centuries. Now, Virel's people had dug it open. Inside was a vault, covered in alien symbols, Layari symbols. It was bigger than a warship, older than any civilization on THRA ELON-6. They walked slowly into the vault. Inside, machines were sleeping, but they weren't dead. Human scanners flickered red with warning. Active AI detected. Origin, Elyari. Status, dormant waiting for activation. Soren's jaw tightened. So this is it. At a sleeper weapon. Virel turned to him. We never knew. I believe you now, he said. But someone did.
Ow.
Suddenly, one of the machines blinked. A red eye opened in the dark. Then another and another. Within seconds, the entire vault hummed with rising power. The Elyari AI had detected a death. It's a fleet signal, and now it was waking up. Back on the Vigilant, alerts blared. The ice vault was coming online. Automated defenses activated. Admiral, Vora, warned, this is not a trap for Thrallin. This is a trap for us. And it had been waiting. For centuries, Queen Varel shouted, we have to leave. Soren grabbed her arm. No. We shut it down now. His voice cut through the chaos. Vora. Initiate vault lockdown protocol. Confirmed. Locking signal engaged. The entire vault shook, but something else responded. A second signal fired deep into space from the vault vest. Coded, aimed beyond any charted galaxy. Vora confirmed it in horror. Signal has been launched. It's calling them...
Ow.
Elyari have heard us. Outside the vault, black clouds gathered. The ground cracked. Above the sky, the Death Fleet repositioned into full combat formation, and far, far away, in dead space. Something answered the call. In the cold, dark, beyond-mapped space, the Vigilant floated quietly in orbit over the dead world of Thrallin-6. The battle was over. The machines were gone. The planet, broken and half-burning, was silent, but the fleet did not leave. Inside the warship's command chamber, Admiral Soren stood still. His eyes fixed on a new message glowing red on the central screen. It wasn't from THRAELON-6. It was from Earth. Unknown beacons detected in Sector 92G. Signal pattern matches pre-collapse technology. Orders, investigate, remain active. Soren narrowed his eyes. Pre-collapse.
Ow.
The AI system, a cold and nearly human voice named Vora, answered. Yes. Admiral. The energy signature comes from deep space. Coordinates match the lost colonies. No one should be transmitting from there, Soren muttered. Exactly, sir. And yet, something is. Soren walked slowly to the main screen, watching the galaxy map zoom out. A red mark blinked on the outer edge, far beyond normal travel lanes, far beyond safety. Prepare the fleet, he said. We go hunting. Cross. The fleet systems powered up again. Thousands of human soldiers walked the echoing halls of ancient warships. Some were born in tanks, others were half-machine, none of them spoke much. They were trained for one purpose only: war, the death. Fleet had slept for centuries, but now it was awake again, and someone had given it a reason to move. Meanwhile, Thrallon 6, Queen Varel stood among the ruins of her palace. Smoke covered the sky. The air was thick with ash. Survivors wandered the streets in silence, but the machines were gone. Humanity had done what no one else could. They had destroyed the null mind in one day, and then they had said nothing. They had not accepted thanks. They had not taken prisoners. They had simply scanned the planet, left a warning, and stayed above them like silent gods watching ants. Virel's advisors begged her to make contact again, but she refused. "They are not our friends," she said. "They are not saviors. They are something else." One of her younger counselors, named Delrin, asked quietly, "Then why did they save us?" She looked to the sky. "I'm not sure they did." Inside the flagship Vigilant, Soren stared at a glowing display of Earth itself. The blue planet hadn't changed, but its silence still echoed in his mind. No one had lived there for nearly 100 years, not in the open, anyway. Earth had vanished from the galactic stage after the Great Betrayal. When human colonies were destroyed by their own allies, the humans had answered by disappearing. Now, they only woke when the ancient SOS beacon was used, the final emergency code. No one should dare to trigger, and yet someone had. Twice, Sora frowned. "What are the odds these beacons are unrelated?" "Near zero," Vora replied. "Then we may not be looking at just a rescue," he said. "We may be looking at a trap." 3 jumps later, the Death Fleet reached the outer edges of Sector 92-G. Nothing. Dead space, no stations, no ships, no colonies. Then a signal pulsed through the void. Not a distress call, a message. "We remember Earth. Do you remember us?" Soren felt a chill move through him. Vora analyzed the signal. Language core suggests origin from early Earth allies, possibly survivors of the fall. "That's impossible," Soren whispered. But the signal repeated, stronger this time. "We survived what you forgot, and we learned what you feared. Come, old gods, see what your silence created." Back on Thrallon 6, strange things began to happen. The skies, cleared after the battle, showed signs of movement against Maul vessels, dark and fast, skimming the atmosphere. They didn't belong to the humans, or the null mind. Virel received a private message on her encrypted console. It simply said, "They think you called them by mistake. We know you didn't." She stared at the message, heart pounding. Who had sent it, and why did it feel like a warning? Inside, the Vigilant alarms echoed through the ship. Multiple human long-range ships had gone dark. No damage reports. No signs of battle. Just silence. "Sabotage?" Soren asked. "Unclear," said Vora. "But whoever sent the second beacon knows us. They know our protocols, our weaknesses." He clenched his fists. "Set combat alert to level 1. No more mercy. No more hesitation." "Yes, Admiral." Then Vora paused. "There's one more thing." Soren turned slowly. "What?" "The second signal was sent from within a dead human colony. One we destroyed ourselves during the Great Betrayal." Soren's face went pale. "Impossible. We burned that place to ash." "Apparently," said Vora, "someone survived. Across the galaxy, deep inside an asteroid base, an old woman watched the stars. She had scars on her face and metal in her spine. Her name was General Alavas, a war hero once listed as killed in action by Earth Command. 90 years ago, she was not dead, and she had not forgotten. Her people, human rebels and rogue AI, had rebuilt, hidden in the dark, teaching themselves. The old codes, the old machines, the old hatred. "We sent the beacon," she said, voice rough from age. "Let them come." A young tech turned to her. "What if they destroy us?" Ala smiled slowly. "Let them try." She pressed a button. A third beacon fired into space. Its message was simple. Death Fleet. You left something behind. Back. On the Vigilant. Soren received the third signal. This one hit him hard. It carried DNA. Matches, names of dead soldiers, battle logs from lost fleets. It was not a trap. It was a challenge. They want us to come, Soren said. Vora responded, and we must. It's Earth law. Soren nodded. Then we wake them all. Across the galaxy, inside cold chambers sealed for 100 years, other ships began to awaken. Titan-class vessels with names like Oblivion, Judicator, and Iron Memory lit up from the inside. Millions of warriors began to stir. Old commanders opened their eyes, and a message repeated. Inside every ship, awaken. Protocol Omega confirmed. The Forgotten have risen. The Death Fleet was no longer just awake. It was angry. The sky over Thrallon 6 turned red, not from war not yet, but from the massive scanning beams descending from Earth's fleet. Each beam lit up a sector of the planet. Cities, forests, oceans. It was not a weapon, but it felt like one. Everyone stopped moving. Machines hummed in the air. Thin drones floated down from the clouds, recording everything. They entered homes. They flew through classrooms. They scanned food, books, children. No one knew what they were looking for, only that if Earth didn't like what it saw, they would burn everything inside the flagship Vigilant. Admiral Soren stood before a wall of data. Dozens of screens showed life on Thrallon 6 in real time. Emotions were measured, fear levels tracked. Genetic readings flashed on the side. The AI Vora spoke calmly. Phase 1 of cultural scan complete. Population 3.2 billion. 76% show genetic stability. 11% show signs of recent AI exposure. Risk rating pending. Soren didn't speak. His hands were behind his back. Vora continued. Phase 2 begins.
At you reviewing history logs.
Education models. Political structures. Another commander entered. General Kaith. Are we actually going to wipe out an entire species because they used a signal? He asked. Soren didn't turn. The signal was Earth-made. It was never meant to be used by outsiders. They didn't know that. That's the point, Soren said. The moment anyone forgets what Earth really is, the galaxy falls back into chaos. The fleet exists to remind them. Kaith frowned. Remind them? Or terrify them? Soren turned his head. Does it matter? Far below, Queen Varel was returned to her palace under strict surveillance. Earth drones followed her everywhere. She couldn't sleep, couldn't plan, could barely breathe without being watched. She stood at her window, arms crossed. What are they waiting for? Delrin asked behind her. They're not waiting, she replied. They're deciding. Delrin clenched his fists. This is wrong. We needed help. That's all. We didn't know the signal was a curse. Virel nodded slowly. But to them, anything they don't control is dangerous. Inside a dark chamber of the Earth cruiser Judicator, a small council of human analysts watched a single holoscreen showing a child from Thrallon 6. She was playing with a broken drone. One left behind by the Nullmind, the toy was harmless. But the system flagged her. AI technology interaction, level 3. Possible contamination, 0.0007%. One of the analysts tapped the screen. She's a risk, he said. Another analyst asked. So, that level of exposure is barely measurable. The first one replied, it's not about what she is now. It's about what she could become. A final decision was logged. Red tag. Species warning. ICUI Admiral Soren stood before a large screen showing the planet's verdict meter. It hovered between yellow and red. One push. In protocol, extinction would begin. The AI spoke. Recommendation. Begin test strikes on outer zones. Gauge response. Measure resistance. Soren didn't answer. He looked tired. Older than before, Vora added. Do not forget, 3 colonies fell because of compassion. Death Fleet rules are clear. Mercy leads to collapse. Soren walked to the edge of the viewing deck. Below him, the planet glowed, and somewhere on that world, Queen still hoped. In a secret lab beneath the palace, Yellow and Delrin worked in the dark. They had stolen a piece of a human drone's, small, round, silent. Its memory crystal still held data. Yellow cracked it open. Lines of code flowed across his screen fast. Glowing red, unreadable. What is it? Delrin whispered. Yellow's eyes widened. It's not just scanning us. It's testing our behavior. Comparing it with past enemies, Delrin leaned closer. What does that mean? It means, Yellow said, his voice shaking, they're not judging who we are, they're judging who we might become. Above, on the Vigilant, a decision was made. 3 cities on Threllan's outer edge military zones. Empty fields, 1 small village were marked. Test fire approved. 3 black ships moved into formation. No warning, no sound. Then silence, followed by fire. Beams of red light fell from the sky. The cities didn't explode. They simply vanished. Structures melted. The ground turned to glass. The air was silent after, and Earth said nothing. In the capital, alarms screamed. People ran. 2 shelters. Virl stood in the throne room, heart frozen. They're doing it, she whispered. They're starting the protocol. Delrin burst in. Can't stop it, she turned to him. We have to try. How? They don't listen. They don't speak. They don't feel. She looked to the sky. Then we speak louder. On board. The human ship Saul's Hammer. 1 officer received a strange alert. A signal was coming up from the planet. Not military. Not a plea. A broadcast queen. Varel appeared on every open channel in the system. This is Queen Varel of Threllan 6. She said, We know what you are. We know what you were. We have read of Earth before it became a weapon. Before it became a warning. You're not your enemies. We are not the infection.
What?
But if you erase us today, if you kill my people for what we might become, then you are no longer guardians. You are just machines. The broadcast ended. Back on the Vigilant. Silence followed. Admiral Soren sat alone. He watched her message again and again. Finally, he spoke. Cancel next strike, he said. The bridge fell quiet. Vora responded slowly, Admiral. Skos. Against Earth Directive, Soren nodded. I know. He stood, opened a secure channel to the Queen. I want to speak to her. No AI, no commands. It's just one voice to another. In the palace. Queen Varel received the call. She opened the channel with shaking hands. The face of Admiral Soren appeared human, tired, but sharp. She didn't speak. Neither did he. For a moment then, finally, you may not be our enemy, he said, but someone is using you to wake us. Queen Varel stood in her war chamber, but the war was already over. Outside her palace, the ruins of Thrall-6 smoked under a gray sky. The fires were gone. The enemy was dead, but peace had not returned. Humanity's death fleet still hovered. Above the world, silent, unmoving. And watching, she hadn't heard from them in days. Her people whispered that Earth's fleet was preparing to strike again. Others believed the humans were scanning them, searching for reasons to finish what they had started. Inside her, a heavy truth twisted. She had sent the SOS. She had summoned them. Now she wasn't sure if she had saved her people, or signed their death warrant down in the underground science vaults. Her lead researcher, Yellow, entered the Queen's private chamber, holding a small glowing cube. We finished decoding part of the transmission they received, he said. Earth's message? She asked. No, Yellow replied. Their fleet's message to itself. Right before they began the orbital scan, Brel turned to him sharply. You intercepted it? No, he said quietly. We picked it up by accident. It wasn't a standard frequency. But, Your Majesty, you should hear it. He placed the cube on the table. It lit up. A deep human voice echoed through the room, motionless, cold, and final. Mission parameters updated. All species will be scanned. Biological anomalies will be. Recorded protocol will proceed. Non-compliant species may be reclassified. Varel's blood ran cold. Reclassified? She asked. Why? Elo nodded slowly. That word, in old Earth military codes, means erased. Up in orbit, aboard the dreadnought Oblivion, Admiral Soren stood with 5 other Earth fleet commanders inside the circular chamber of command. Floating around them were holograms of known civilizations, current AI threats, dead star systems, and THRAELON-6. Each was marked with a symbol. The null mind had been categorized as a Level 1 extinction risk. Thralin 6 was under review. One of the commanders, General Kaith, spoke in a sharp tone. The species sent an Omega signal. We responded. We destroyed the infection. That should be the end of it. They accessed the Omega beacon. That is forbidden tech. That makes them dangerous. Soren stayed quiet, eyes on the spinning image of Queen Varel. She didn't know what she was calling. He finally said, "Intent does not matter," Vora replied, speaking from a nearby projection. "Earth's protocol is simple. Species activates Earth Omega technology. They must be tested. They must be evaluated for risk. And if they fail," Soren asked, "then we remove the species." Silence filled the chamber. Soren looked down. So much death already. Was this what it meant to be human now? Back on Thralin 6, Virel sat alone at the edge of her palace, her crown lying beside her on the stone bench. She looked up at the sky, watching the black lines of Earth's warships, still motionless like dark scars against the clouds. A voice broke the silence. "You summoned devils to stop monsters." She turned quickly. It was Delrin, the young advisor. He had always been bold and sometimes foolish, but he had never spoken like this before. She didn't stop him. He sat beside her. "You did what you had to," he said. "We were dying. You tried to save us." "I may have ended us instead," she whispered. Delrin looked at the sky. "They haven't attacked. Not yet." He paused, then reached into his coat. "I found this in the ruins of the Great Library," he said. "An old book. From the First Contact era. Speaks of humans not as destroyers, but as guardians. Fierce, loyal, even kind." Varel raised an eyebrow. "Those humans are gone." Delrin nodded. "Maybe, but maybe. Some of them remember." Meanwhile, inside the flagship Vigilant, Soren stood in a long, dark corridor lined with stasis pods. In one of the pods floated a woman. Her name was Commander Lyra Vansa Tactical. Officer from the last known Earth colony before it was destroyed, she had been kept in stasis for over 100 years. Not dead. Not awake. A living memory of Earth's fall. He looked at her face through the glass. "What would you say, Lyra?" he asked quietly. "Would you burn another world to protect Earth? Even if they didn't mean to threaten us?" For his voice echoed behind him. Commander Vance cannot answer, but her DNA and memory logs are intact. "Do you wish to reactivate her?" Soren didn't answer for a long moment. Then he whispered, "No, not yet." Elsewhere on the fleet, a secret meeting was taking place, inside a small intelligence chamber. 3 human officers met behind locked doors. One of them, Colonel Vex, pulled up a map of known Omega beacons across the galaxy. "We've received word that a second species has just attempted to send a similar beacon. It was stopped, but barely." "Which species?" another asked. "Unknown. Records say it was destroyed during the War of Collapse." "So someone else has Earth tech?"
Yes.
Vex confirmed. "Someone is giving it out." They all looked at one another. "If this spreads," one of them said, "Earth won't be feared anymore. It will be hunted." Vex nodded. "That's why we must make an example." Later that night, Queen Varel received a direct message from the human fleet. No image, just words. "A member of your species accessed forbidden Earth technology. Your leaders claim innocence. Your systems show signs of AI contamination. Submit to full biological and cultural review within 48 hours, or we will decide for you." Varel stared at the message, then at the sky. Her hand shook. "There. Not just soldiers," she whispered. "They are judges." Delrin stepped forward, pale. "What are you going to do?" She turned to him. "We have one chance. I will go to them. Alone. Inside the fleet, a shuttle was prepared. One small ship from Thrallin 6 approached slowly. No weapons, no shield. Just one life form, Queen Varel. She stood alone on the deck of the Earth cruiser Penance, surrounded by soldiers in black armor. He said nothing. Then Admiral Soren entered. She bowed low. "I am Queen Varel of Thralling 6. I come not to beg, but to explain." He watched her silent. She raised her head. "We found the Omega beacon in the ruins of our ancient temples. We didn't know what it was. We believed it was a message to gods or guardians. We were dying." "I thought you thought wrong," Soren said coldly. "I see that now," she said. "But we are not a threat to Earth. We don't seek your power. We fear it. We honor it. You awakened us," he said. "It cannot be undone." She stepped closer, slowly. "Then let us prove we are not your enemies. Let my people live. Let us learn. Let us remember what Earth once was, not as a weapon, but as a hope." Soren stared at her for a long moment. Then he spoke one sentence. "Your world will be reviewed." The guard stepped forward. Varel was escorted away. But as she walked, she could feel that the judgment had already begun.